Good evening, all.
Sure.
Today we have with us an industry expert, that is Vignesh sir over here. He's an head for UI UX design in Mindstack Technologies, Mangalore, and we do welcome you, sir, to our webinar on careers in UI UX, careers in UX, basically. So we do welcome you to our webinar session over here. I really thank you for giving us your valuable time uh, to uh, motivate our students and share your knowledge with our students. So now I would request you to take over.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll begin then. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So now I would like to discuss with you about a case study based explanation on about what is UX design is and what are the field of opportunities in UX design.
Sure. So UX design is basically kind of like an amalgamation or a combination of design and psychology. So basically, you see UX design almost everywhere. So people get overwhelmed because of the jargons that goes around it. There are like you say user interface design, user experience design, product design, and all that. So, but actually, you pretty much can't interact with any product without user experience, right? So companies, big companies and even small companies spend billions and millions of dollars in getting the research right and knowing their customers properly, knowing their clients or knowing their users properly before building the product, right? So user experience design or UX design or UI design, as they call it, is more, it's kind of like a umbrella term. So UX design is a kind of like an umbrella term, and within that there are different specializations. So people who are good at designing interfaces are called user interface designers. There are similarly there are researchers, user researchers, UX researchers. There are visual designers. There are motion designers. So yeah, the list goes on and on. So basically a UX design is actually an umbrella term and kind of like a general way to put it.
Yeah, okay. Moving on, we just want to share your knowledge about what are the conventional and unconventional paths taken by the people to get into the field of UX.
So UX design is as I said, it's a big field. People nowadays, it's there's no norm that you need to have this particular set of skills or this particular set of degrees or something to get into. Heck, you don't even need a degree to get into UX design, basically. So, but it's one of the highest paid and the most sought out fields, and it's kind of like there was around 2000s, you have observed there was a you know software boom that was happening. Like a lot of people got into software engineering, and there are a lot of people who were kind of forced or maybe kind of excited to get into coding, right? So basically at this point, 2020 is a boom for design. That is basically user experience design, because these minute details in design kind of results or kind of amounts to billions to companies. So you might have observed there are a lot of companies who maybe are what do what Swiggy and Zomato does, but there are only two companies, Swiggy and Zomato, who are the industry leaders in the market. Again, there are a lot of factors again, but one of the key areas that people or companies focus is user experience design. So but if I have to give you kind of like a rough idea of where most people come from,
Yes.
like a lot of people do an engineering degree and get into the field, but you don't learn much from an engineering degree. You don't learn at all, that you would be working in UX design. But having a degree in psychology would really help you get very good opportunities in big product based companies or even service based companies like IBM and Google and all. But that's not necessarily necessary. So like in short, there is no fixed roadmap or kind of like a fixed milestone you get to get into UX design especially. Basically people start off with the boot camp, or you can even start off by watching YouTube videos. There are a lot of tutorials that teach you basic user experience design, and you can start off just like that. So yeah, that's how I would put it.
Okay. So moving on with the next, that is like, how can you share that career ladder in the field of UX design would for the students?
So career ladder would basically start off as a junior designer. So a lot of people even start off from graphic design. I've observed people, even I myself was a graphic designer initially before I pivoted into UX. So at the moment, again, as I said, there is no conventional, UX, ladder to get into get into that space. But usually we start off as a junior designer or junior UX designer. Then we move to senior UX designer or a product lead. Then we go into principal product designer or UX designer, principal product, UX designer. And then at the end, or maybe after you have okay, a junior designer would be around fresher, 0 to 2 years of experience. And then coming to just kind of like a just product designer or a UX designer, maybe has a experience level of 1 to 3 years or 5 years. So depending on which industry is from. And to crack interviews of senior developed designers or senior product designers or UX designers, you basically have to have a experience of 5 to 6 years, 5 to 10 years of experience, and you need to have a very in-depth knowledge of how UX design is structured. There are a lot of jargons I might tell you, like there are design systems, there are having knowledge of design system, having basic knowledge of motion interactions and how people interact with the product. And maybe if you are again, there are a lot of specializations here. Maybe if you are totally into one category of product design or UX design, that is research, you would preferably would need some knowledge of psychology, or if that would help, but that wouldn't actually be necessary. Again, that for that particular specialization, the roadmap would be similar. But yeah, again, it's not just about the experience that you have. The UX career ladder totally depends on what value you have brought to the company, what returns, or what solutions, how many complex solutions you have solved for companies. So if you are working for a product based company, if you are working on a, let's say if you're working on their product, let's say the front mobile app, so what did your design bring, what value did they bring in the company? So did it increase their onboarding? By onboarding, I mean the initial, converting the user from a, from a free customer to a paid customer. How did you improve the experience of existing product, and how much profit or how much revenue you have generated for your company? So all those things matter a lot. So I can't just put a mark or a pin, let's say 1 to 5 years is senior and all that, but it totally, you can become a head of products within 7 years if you have exceptional, if you have brought exceptional results or returns to the company. So yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful insight so that the students get motivated to take up this career as well.
Yes.
Meanwhile, moving forward, I have one more question that I wanted to ask. That is like, what might be the possible pivoting points from the UX field that you want to share with our students?
uh, Pivoting points, you mean kind of like going forward, changing career
Yes.
altogether? uh, as I said, like UX design possibly is kind of like the umbrella term, and under that there are a lot of specializations. So if you're a product designer, principal designer, you're kind of required to know a lot of general terms, like you might be good at you know uh, animations or motion graphics, you might be good at research. But later on, companies, big companies, they kind of focus more on specializations rather than jack of all trades. But startups value a lot. Jack of all trades are valued by startups a lot, because it would really help them to have, and they can't afford, or they can't actually they don't have the resources to hire people who are expert in one field. So if you are, let's say, a UX designer, you can pivot to product researcher, or motion designer, or even if you are good at animations, you can pivot to, from UX design you can pivot to even cinema design, or maybe 3D modeling or something. Or yeah, it depends, it entirely depends on what skill set that you have. And I would like to add another point here, that people don't look at, again, companies, when you're applying for companies, it doesn't matter how much knowledge that you have, or what what degrees you have, or what certifications you have done. It doesn't matter at all. We as a recruit, when we look to hire people, we only look at what value do they bring to the company. That's it. So if I'm looking at someone who is good at who I would want to hire, let's say if I want to hire someone who is a motion graphic designer, I would look at his portfolio and judge him based on only that, not if he has done something else or that. So that's, it's like, it's always contextual. So career ladder entirely depends on what you're interested in. If you're interested in graphic design, you can become a visual designer, and that's a separate scope of work, which is kindly a tangent to UX design. uh, if you're a motion designer, if you are if you know some animation, you can get into cinema design. Cinema design basically means poster animations, or kind of like more into cinema, cinema animation, like those 2D animation that you see around. You can pivot to that. There are softwares like Maya and all that. People get into that. Or if you're someone who makes illustrations, you can get into drawing, or maybe kind of comic book sketches or something. So it's like having kind of like a broad knowledge of how UX design functions. You can there are a numerous opportunity for you to get into any field that you desire. So there's no one thing. There's no like if you're into UX design, there's nothing like you can even, heck, you can even get into programming. If you're a UX designer, you can even learn to code, because you would need some basic. I would not say you would want, we would require you to code, or any company would require you to code, but you would you would need to have that basic understanding of how how the structure is. So let's say if you are building an app, and if that app is built on Flutter. So Flutter is a framework developed by Google, where mobile apps are developed. So you would need to know some basic layout, that how this design is going to be translated into a Flutter product, a Flutter app. So such basic things would be required. And if you are maybe good at it, or if you're interested, you can pivot to a product, product development, that is mobile app design, or mobile app development, or front end development, or full stack development. So the list goes on and on. So it entirely depends on what you're good at and what's your interest.
Thank you, Vignesh. And we do have one of the questions from one of our participants that, as we can see in the chat box, like what type of startups does company or supports looking forward?
See,
It's from
yeah.
Preeti.
So hi Preeti. If I have to answer this question, I think wherever there is software development that's happening, there is UX. So there is, the UX and software development can't exist independently. They need each other. So if any IT company who is serious about providing good user experience would definitely hire UX designers, right? So there is nothing like there is only a very small or big companies only they can afford UX design. That used to be the case in the early 20s and early 2010s, but now things have changed after 2020 and maybe 2018. Things have rapidly paced up for UX designers, and there are a lot of there are a lot of job openings, but there are less people who are skilled enough. So that's been the situation now. So again, to answer your question, it's definitely there are a lot of opportunities in IT field. So basically if you can target IT companies, service based as well as product based companies, to get openings or to get job opportunities in UX design.
Yeah. I want to share your journey in the field of UX with our students, so that they get motivated to take up this career. And I just wanted to know what are the challenges they might feel once they are starting up with this career. And meanwhile, we do have one more question. Like, if a person has an idea, does any company would help them to explore their idea if that idea is valid?
Huh, that's kind of like a tricky question, actually. Usually, companies see it's simple. It's companies hire you to get their job done, even though you might be, you might really be happy that you're working for this company or not. But eventually, ultimately, the company is just looking out to get benefits or get the return on investment for their money out of you. That's it. So maybe this definitely works in companies like Google, where you are allowed to work on your own idea, and you can. That's how. Google AdSense or Google GPay was built. So basically, employees were working on their own idea, and they kind of sold the idea to Google, and they got a good good money for that, good investment on that for their efforts. So only big companies like Google or Fang basically can make use of such things, but not almost any almost 95% of the company, 99% of the companies I can say would never encourage that. So I would encourage you not to bring it up with your HR, because they might may not like it. So
Yes, Vignesh, and one more question that has been popped up by our participant is like, as a UX or UI designer, what could be a source of good inspiration to draw from?
So, as a UX designer, see, I'll tell you one thing: UX designers are not people who just sit around laptops and just keep on designing something, right? UX designer people who are observers. So basically, you are a problem solver, right? If I have to give an example, you might have, I mean, your if you can just look at your laptop keyboard, or maybe your keyboard. So even there is UX, user experience. So if I have to give you one example, you can look at space bar. Why do you think space bar is long, right? That doesn't make sense. Why space bar is long, and why escape is at the right hand top, left hand top corner? Why can't space bar be this small, and why can't enter be this big? I mean, your name may be Sumesh, so why can't S be a big letter? S key would be can be big, right? Why, you have to ask these questions. So UX design is all about asking the right question. I mean, there is no right questions, but there definitely is a truthful pursuit to get those answers for those questions. So if I have to give you the answer for this, there is a law in UX design called Fitts law. So Fitts law is applied not just for your keyboards; it's applied for any place where your functionality, or maybe where you're interacting with the product. So Fitts law is even applied to your car braking system. If you have if you may have noticed, your brakes are bigger compared to your clutch, compared to your accelerator. So that's because the Fitts law, it states that the distance between an object or a function is directly proportional to how much you are using that function. So basically, if you're like if you're more likely to use a like a function, let's say the space bar, it needs to it depends, it directly proportional to the distance, that how far or how sooner can you reach that. So if brakes were smaller, it would be very difficult for you to hit the brakes, right? Similarly, space is something you need space to type, right? You are giving spaces to each and every letter that you're typing. So if space was smaller, it would really reduce the space of your typing. So because of the functionality of space, because the general functionality of the space bar, you have given it that priority to be bigger in size, so that your distance, your usability increases. So that's one example that I can give you. So basically, yeah, UX is all about solving, or looking for questions. So maybe after this webinar, you can ponder for questions. You can just ask, why is this water bottle like this? Why is it designed like this? Everything is a design. In this grand design of the universe, everything is designed for a purpose, right? So but people, we humans, because we are attached to something, we decorate it. So there is a very small, very distinct distinguishing between design and decoration. If you're designing let's say a water bottle, you can make it fancy, you can make it look very fancy, but does it solve the problem? Does it add any value, right? If I make a very fancy cup, the cap of a water bottle, if I make it very fancy and make it very big, it might look very good for me, look to good it might look very good to me, it might look like a very beautiful tree, right? I'm just coloring the cup, the cap of the cup with green, and the bottle is brown, so it would look like a tree, but does it really solve the problem? It would be a very lousy water bottle, isn't it? You won't be able to take it in your bag. It looks good, but it doesn't solve the problem, right? So design is all about solving the problem. It's there. And a good design is invisible, right? You'll never notice a good design, but you'll definitely notice a bad design. So once, if you're noticing something and if you're not liking it, then it definitely is a bad design. So yeah, I would like to leave you with that thought.
And there is a question in aligned with the previous question as well. Like
Right.
any good example of good UI or UX design according to you? Uh,
So there are a lot of examples, right? I think Spacebar is a very good example for a UX design, where there is a very good user experience which has been made. So UX, it's been for millions of, not millions, sorry, hundreds of, or maybe a lot of years of experimentation and best practices. So there's a lot of psychology also into it. But if I have to give you one example, I think a very good design of recent time could be WhatsApp. I'm just giving an example of a product, because since we are in the context of UX design for products or for IT products, I would like to give an example of WhatsApp. So let me ask you this question: how many of your parents or people who are elder to you, a lot elder to you, use Snapchat or Instagram? The answer is very few, right? Because that is not the product is not meant for such user base. So basically, before you design a product, you need to understand the user, right? For example, if I'm let's say if I'm designing a product for Sumesh, I would like to know what does Sumesh, not preferences. I would like, okay, if Sumesh likes red, I might, if I like Sumesh, maybe I'll use red. But that doesn't really solve the problem, right? That doesn't really help in the product. So I would like to know ki what, okay, let's say if Sumesh has some accessibility issue. He doesn't he can't see some colors. If I'm just giving an example, Sumesh, don't
no, no,
you
no
know
issue. Yeah, yeah, that would be relevant example actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if Sumesh maybe has color blindness, or maybe he doesn't see blue, I would define myself from using blue color, right, for the product, because it would be a very bad design for Sumesh. You guys might like it because your eyes are proper, but Sumesh would really hate that app, right? So similarly, we do user research before any product. So if you look at WhatsApp is been used by, like, it's literally built for billion people, because anybody can use it. Like, there's no accessibility issue, right? Even if there is some accessibility issue, it's still sorted. But again, WhatsApp kind of defeats purpose for people who are maybe blind, or maybe people who who don't have limbs. So in UX term, we call it affordances are basically, if a user can afford a feature or a, let's say I'll just give an example. uh, if let's say if you're going to a mall, and you see a door. Have you seen that door just opens like this? So why is that door a very good design? It kind of caters to a lot of people. You don't need hands to open the door. Let's say if I don't have a hand, I would really hate a door which has handles, right? Because I can't open it. And it would be very, it would make me feel very uncomfortable to open the door, and to go around, because it doesn't really help me. So basically what we do is we kind of research the users. We understand what are their pain points, what are the potential solutions that we can bring about, and then we build a product. So it's a very, very interesting field, I'll tell you. I never I know, as far as I have experienced, all these years, I have around 7 years of experience. I have never felt like I'm working. It's always a blast. Every day at office, or every day at work, every new project. I'm learning new things. I'm learning new experiences. I'm getting to understand how people interact with products, how people are. So that's how it is.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes, thank you, Vignesh. And we have many questions popping up, so we'll take one by one about that.
So
So one more question, that is that what tools we can use for making a better UX?
again, for UX, there are no particular tools as such. I would say tools are the least priority for a UX design. You can start off with a pen and paper, right? For basically user experience design means you're basically solving a problem, right? As I said, I'm solving a problem for Sumesh for, because he can't see a particular color in the color index. I'm actually refraining myself from using that tool, so that's a solution. So basically, tools are of a least priority, but I would if I have to name a few tools, Figma is a very good tool that I have been using for over the years. Before that, I used to use Adobe XD, but Figma has been really helpful with a lot of plugins and all that. It really, helps me uh, do really great work. Uh, Apart from Figma, we have you can even design on Canvas. You can even design on Photoshop. There's no limitation. So most of the people in the industry would prefer you to know Figma and learn to use the tool. Best way to learn the user tool is to either watch a YouTube tutorials. There are hundreds of YouTube tutorials which are very best, very good. And one thing I would like to leave, kind of suggest, give a suggestion is never just watch tutorials. Always practice. You will only learn through practice. If you are kind of using a product, if you're watching a tutorial, you'll never learn anything from that. You are just going to just learn, or let's hear someone say something, and but you'll never learn it. So it's kind of like a there's you need to kind of get your hands dirty. pick up a design Pick up a design on dribble.com or behance.com or on internet. If you put any design screen, put some screen, they'll populate. Take a screen, design it. First day your design would be horrible. I've been there too. Second day it will be horrible. After 2 weeks, you'll get to see the results. So that's how you improve your design skills. So that's how things get start getting simpler and simpler. And that's how, as they say, every expert was a beginner. So you need to start somewhere. So I would suggest you to start from there. But that is not what UX is. That is just, you're just designing, learning to designing cool things. It's kind of like you're learning to kind of put things together, but you need to first learn to put, how to get those things in first place, right? So that's what the UX is all about. So UX is not just uh, not at all about tools. It's about problem solving approach. How do you approach a problem and how do you solve a problem? But that knack and that skill will only come to you over the years. Well, once you solve many problems, when you solve many solutions. So that's how it is.
And continuation to the first question, like, is there any particular method? One of our participant is asking us.
Yeah. So for design, there are a lot of methods, and it totally depends on what approach are you trying to solve, what problems are you trying to solve. If I have to name a few, again, it would be overwhelming. You can look it up if you're very much interested to know more about it. One of the key methods, design method is double diamond design principle that we use. So double diamond is basically DDDD, 4 Ds. Basically discover, and then design, and then deliver. So this is basically for where you are in a scrum, or maybe when you are kind of designing for B2B products or something. So it's totally contextual. It's a very big topic to talk about, design methodologies. But if I just give you a few names, one is design. Another thing is design thinking process. Design thinking is a very, very famous method that most people use, and it's very simple. Design thinking is basically you're empathizing with the customer, with the user. So let's say, as I said, if I'm designing a product for someone, you understand the user properly, and then you design according to that. So that is what design thinking is. It's about empathy. So empathy is something that you kind of empathize with the user to understand their needs. What do they want? What are their fears? What are their pain points? What are they struggling with? So accordingly, you kind of put all those things together, and that's how you go ahead with the design. So when you asked me about the question of tools, so tool is just the design part of that, double diamond rule. The other 3 Ds, that's something that you need to, that's the UX part. where the first is define part, where you kind of defining the problem. What is the problem? What's my problem? You, who are my customers, who are my clients, or who are my users? What am I trying to solve? What's the problem that my users are facing? So all those things you need to kind of define first, and then you discover it. You start discovering things. Sorry, first comes the discovery part, where you discover it and then you define the problem. Okay, this is the problem, I've understood it. Now you try to find a solution. That is, you design it. So design is basically, you start off with, I start off with pen and paper. Basically, I take a rough book, I start designing solutions, potential solutions. I design for each screen I make on Figma. I design around 50 to 60 sketches on of rough and paper. So design starts with pen and paper. So you don't need to have any fancy equipments, or iPad or something like that. It's not a requirement at all. You can just start off with paper and pen. Even now, if you don't know Figma, you don't have to worry about it. You can learn Figma, but you can start your design journey with just pen and paper. You just take a screen, you just design a solution. Let's say if you're let's you can redesign WhatsApp. Let's say if you want to add a feature to kind of uh, add business people into your design, and you can into WhatsApp, and if you want to separate it from your personal chats, how do you do it? Think about it. Make a design, make a layout. That's how you start, basically. Yeah.
Yes, Vignesh, we have one more question
Sure.
from our participant that, sir, could we use user experience design in agriculture sector? We have been modernized our lifestyle and way of living. Could we make farmers to use this modernization in their day-to-day work? So that I appreciate this question actually.
Yeah,
Insights from you?
that's a wonderful question. So
Yes.
again, here, if you're designing for farmers, if there's a solution that you want to give in, what kind of, again, I would like to ask you, what kind of product are you trying to build? Are you trying to build a product on a mobile app? If you're building on a mobile app, would farmers be using a mobile app? Okay, let's say if you're not building a product on mobile app, let's say if you're building a product, let's say if you are building a machine that will help farmers get more harvest. So you need to make the product in such a way that it's easy for them to use, right? If you make it very much complicated, it's not going to help them. So basically, UX design is not just about IT or something, it goes everywhere. But in agriculture sector also, since people are not that tech savvy, it's going to be very much crucial to understand the users first, right? Because it's like you're dealing with people who have very basic sense of basic knowledge of using daily products. So you would like to make experiences similar to what they have been using before, right? So let's say if you're using like a tractor. Let's say if I have to give you a very uh, kind of like a unconventional example, I'm not sure if it's a right thing. I just want to tell this since we are in the same topic. So let's say if you want to pivot uh, farmers from using conventional bullock this yielding row to tractors, how would you do that? So basically, you assume with the fact that the customer knows, the farmers know how to drive, right? So that's one thing. And you make the back part of it, which actually does the work very much similar to how it was, right? And if there are any potential solutions, if there are potential pain points that they are having in the initial model, right? It's heavy, or maybe it's not detachable, it's just a one big thing, it's hard to carry. Maybe you would make the entire thing detachable so that it becomes easier for them to handle it. So these are the things that you kind of look forward to solve. But again, when you get to these are just fancy things in the air. When you look at a product as it is, there are a lot of factors. There are cost factors also. There's a revenue factor. Your solution might be absolutely brilliant, but it may not actually be very good for no, very good for your revenue, right? Because it would cost a lot of things. So you need to prioritize on all these things. So yeah, that's how things would be. If like there's no like one industry somewhere where you're focusing on UX and other industries are not at all UX friendly or something. Everywhere UX can be applied. Just like UX is all about solving problems.
Okay. Yeah, moving ahead, like the similar kind. The one more question that is been popped out is like, how do we identify these design trends in UX?
Uh, I would suggest you not to worry about UX design trends because it trends keep on changing. It's been happening for a long time. If you have noticed, a Cred app, Cred we used to have new a design trend called neo brutalism. So neo brutalism basically is kind of like a fancy button with different layout. So it's kind of like a, design trends are basically the last least priority for in the UX term. It's more of a UI thing than a UX thing. UX is more like you're trying to solve a problem, right? And you like how friendly you're trying to solve it. So recently, maybe not no, not so recently, but around 5 years ago, we saw dark mode trend. So dark mode trend, even though it was it was kind of fancy, but it really helped solve a lot of problems because people used to kind of stare at phones at night, and it used to develop eye issues and all that. But it by introducing dark mode, you kind of made it easier on their eyes to use it, right? So again, trends are contextual for each product. Most people go with flat design trend. That's been happening even now. But trend totally depends on your brand, again, your brand language. So what are you building? So Cred is something that is very much want to cater to young and rich individuals, so they went with that trend. But WhatsApp, if you look at WhatsApp doesn't care about that. WhatsApp just wants people to use it. Anyone can use it. It's not like even Kunal Shah, who is the founder of Cred, uses WhatsApp. So they don't really have any fancy things. So trend is totally depending on the context that you're going to solve. So
Yes, thank you, Vignesh, on that. And there is a couple of questions that has been popped out from the previous question
sure.
about the farmers are using UX design in the agriculture sector. So there is one question is that making every farmers to know about the crops which they are growing and in what ratio. Like if a farmer has a plant tomato, it should notify other farmer to plant other crop. So this is one of the question with reference to the earlier question. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that would be brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. But then again, there's a learning curve for farmers, right? So the learning curve would be, again, now we live in a new age where a lot of people use smartphones, so that shouldn't be an issue. But again, this is a problem that you're trying to solve, where you are kind of notifying a user, set of users, like kind of like you're building a community of farmers where you're kind of getting details, like you're fetching details of one individual to other. So again, it's like you need to detail out on facts that, like, how are you trying to, how are you communicating, making sure the communication is seamless. So again, this it's kind of like a very kind of it converges into what exactly are trying to solve than general discussion on how UX can be applied to agriculture, right? So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you on that. And there's one more related to the same thing. If everyone grows a similar crop, it would profit less. So if they know about the crop which to grow and what profit would they get? So it's like a continuation question from the previous one.
Correct. So about this again, see, if I have to tell you in a, because this is more like uh, kind of like a operations problem than a UX problem. It's kind of like you're kind of coming up with a startup problem, right? Like like this is a problem and you're trying to solve it. So by UX, if you have to bring UX into this, again, it's mandatory that everybody needs to have a smartphone, because if you're building a platform, let's say an app, to solve this issue, everybody needs to have a phone. And with this app, you're trying to bring all the farmers together so that they can communicate efficiently, to know, to help them understand which crop would give them more yield. But again, there are a lot of other factors here also as well, right? If you're maybe if you're a season farmer, like seasons also matter, right? So let's say if on non-season day, there might be more demand on mango, but it would be difficult for you to grow on grow mangoes on that season. So again, it's kind of like an operational problem, like a startup issue than a UX, you know, question. So yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, any other question? And there is one more question. That is there any particular book that they can refer to learn UX designs? That's from one of the student.
There are really a lot of books. You can Google, UX design books, and a lot of things pop up. I would, this book is a bit technical, but I would recommend it. It's called Design of Everyday Things by Dan Norman. It's one of the books has been with me for a long time. I've been reading it uh, throughout my career, and it has helped me to understand the context of what we do, right? So I've observed this in the industry that a lot of people they call themselves UX designer, but they're usually people who just design without any context. Like, but a true UX designer, if you really want to go heights in your career, I believe in the fact that you need to always question your design. You need to have that uh, eye for problems, right? You're trying to solve something. You look at your design, and you should never fall in love with your design. Okay, I designed it, so I love it. You need to ask it, like, am I really, my design, is it solving the problem? Is it really the best way to go? If not, what could be? So again, like, if you want to have a very basic understanding of UX, you can start off with like again, there are like a lot of books in the market, but I would start, I would highly recommend Dan Norman's Design with Everyday Things. Again, there is another book called Usability. I forgot the author's name, but uh like there are, like, again, like, for the context, there are different books. Again, there's another book called Design System by Anne Frank. That's a bit higher up in the book. It's about design systems and how do you build it and how do you maintain design systems. uh, yeah, that's, but I think you
For
guys could.
beginners, any suggestion for beginners?
So beginners, I think you could start off with uh, this book called this Dan Norman's Design with Everything. I think I have it with me. Let me just check. I can just show you guys. So this is the book.
Okay.
Design. Yeah.
Yeah, the guys, you can note down the book name. So for the beginners, I guess this is the best choice to start learning, and
Right. So if you are really serious about UX design, you could look at that book, and it's kind of like a Bible. I wouldn't say it's a book for beginners, because there is no beginner or intermediary in UX design. It's just that there's a bunch of information, you learn it, and you try to apply it, right? So, but this book is kind of like the Bible for UX design. He's Don Norman is said to be the father of UX design. So you can basically learn a lot from that book.
uh, yeah, thank you, Vignesh. And guys, if you have any more questions, you can post it in the chat box so that I can take it up with Vignesh over here. And meanwhile, I would request Vignesh to share your journey in this UX design. So the students really want to understand how did you begin, and what are the changes you underwent and the challenges you face, the opportunities you saw in this career, and to come to this, the position you are in right now. So if you can share your journey with your students, that would be of great, motivation for our students to take it up from here.
Right. So I started off again as a graphic designer, basically. So I used to freelance a lot during my college days. I used to take up logo design and poster designs and all that. So I have always had that interest in design. So, but UX design is something which was very much which happened a bit later of my life, because I was interested in psychology. I just wanted to know how you can leverage design to make people like a product or not like a product, right? So if you make a product, if you design a product, there are a lot of products in the market, like, but there are only few products that are really doing well, right? Why is that? So those were the things that were getting in my mind. I was getting those thoughts, so I thought I would like to pursue this career path. And It's been 7 years. I started off as a freelancer. I've worked with many big and small names in the industry, and I have worked with different sectors. I have worked with real estate people, real estate. I have built real estate products. I have built B2B products. I've built internal products for the team. I've built products similar to Jira. I've bought a, there are a lot of products that have happened, and there are a lot of products also which have failed. And what I've learned is that there is no concrete solution, and the only way to get closer to the answer is to make sure that your user research is good, because you need to really understand what's the problem than design later, because understanding the problem that you're trying to solve is very much important than the solution altogether. The problem is more important than the solution. It's funny but yeah, it's true in UX design, because the problem is the thing that you're trying to solve, right? So until and unless, like if you give me 10 hours to solve a problem, I would founder yeah, I would spend 9 hours to look at the problem and 1 hour to just solve it, because problem in the problem itself there is solution, right? I don't have to think much. So basically, that's how it happened to me during my career. uh, and my learnings were, you cannot always be right. I've always been proven wrong by my peers, by even my juniors, and my people who are very intense under me. There's no right answer, wrong answer. There's always it's always curiosity that drives you in this industry, right? So if you're working on a problem, maybe an intern can, or maybe you who has zero knowledge in UX design can come up with a better solution, because once you get into the industry and once you get into solving a problem, you sort of become tunnel vision. You just look at, okay, this is my domain and I need to look into only this. But there most of the times UX design is about out of box thinking, right? So it's all about solving problems. It's all about trying to understand what the problem is and try to come up with the best solution, best possible solution to that. So that's my learning, and that's been my journey so far. So there's a lot to go. There's a lot more to go, and I'm very much excited to see what's next for me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And we have one more question from a student, that is Blender a good platform to use for animation, etc.? Uh,
Blender, I use Blender for 3D models basically. Blender is a software which allows you. It's a free software. It's a very good software where you can make 3D models. But animations, it depends on whether you want to make 3D animations or 2D animation. If you want to make 2D animations, After Effects is a very good choice. You need to know illustrators or something to understand, to make those illustrations and then animate those things. So After Effects is a very good platform for animation, 2D animations. If you have advanced 3D animations, you can go with Blender. I've not tried animations in 3D because I've not got that kind of a problem, or like it's kind of like a separate field, because once you get into 3D animations, you become a game designer, right? So game design again, sorry, I didn't mention that game design again is a pivot point for UX design. Maybe if you're very good at 3D models, you can design characters, you can design 3D models, you can design, maybe if you're designing a, let's say, game like Counter Strike, you can design maps in 3D. So but again, there also UX matters. Like you need to understand key, okay, you need to design usable maps, right? Like if you're designing maps, or if you're designing a character, you need to design likable characters. So yeah, so that's how Blender is used. But yeah, for 2D animations, I think After Effects would be the perfect uh, place to go.
okay. Yeah. Uh, Thank you, Vignesh, on that note. And guys, any more questions? Feel free to ask any more questions. We have Vignesh sir here to clear all your doubts on UX design. Yeah, and meanwhile, Vignesh, thank you for sharing your wonderful journey with our students, and I really hope that that has motivated our students. And it was really insightful the way you started your career, and the position you have reached as of now as an UI UX design head. And really that motivates our students when they are planning to take up this career. And really it was insightful about the journey or the book that you shared with us, so that for beginners how it would be useful and easily they can start learning about the designs. So
Sure.
guys, any more questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then yes, we have one more now. The question that is asked, that is like, any coaching of UX design or any idea, so how to plan an app, or so it how he can work on UX designs to build an app?
So there are free universities, free courses on Coursera. If you can check Coursera, there is a certification course for UX design by Google. So it's certified by Google. So it's a design course designed, especially by Google. You can pay to get the certification. It is valuable in the industry, but not so much. Again, as I said, it's always your portfolio or the work that you have done that will highlight you or push you in the career ladder. It's not about the certificates that you do or the degrees that you have. So if you have I started off with uh, you know uh, I used to read books and I used to watch YouTube tutorials. That's how it started for me. But I recommend a lot of my peers or juniors who are starting off in UX design to watch that, take that course from Google. That is UX design course by Google on Coursera. So it's a very good course. If you complete the entire course, you'll be very much ready to get your first job in UX design. But if you want more focused or more kind of in-depth kind of specialization, or like in-depth kind of learning in UX design, there are courses kind of like there are platforms like Design Board. So they take up they conduct sessions batches wise, and they even guarantee you UX design jobs at the end of the program, so you can try that.
Okay. uh, Guys, any more questions? Okay. So I guess there are no more questions, and thank you, Vignesh. I would like this to take this opportunity on behalf of everyone from Comedkares.
Yes,
It was a wonderful insights about the career in UX and UI, as well as your own journey that has made or that has motivated our students enough to take up this career, and the challenges, and as well as the examples. That was really wonderful insights for our students. And on behalf of everyone from Comedkares, I really thank you for coming in, giving your precious time, and motivating our students and giving insights about the UX design. Really thank you for that. And thank you, guys.
yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Yeah,
It was a pleasure to have you over here in our platform. Thank you so much, guys, and I thank even our students for asking so many questions and clearing their doubts off. And do feel free to text the questions if you have not cleared it off over here in this webinar. We would reach out to Vignesh sir, and
yeah,
we would send him the questions, and we'll ask him to clear it us for us, so that he would be really happy to interact with our students as well, like the
sure.
way he has
So you
done
can
today.
you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm available. You can text me, and when I get time, I'll definitely help you out with any doubts that you have.
Yes, thank you, Vignesh. And really, he's a mentor who really likes his students, and he really helps a lot of students to get into this career. So you can reach out to him, as he has mentioned, his LinkedIn profile. And I thank each and everyone for participating in this webinar and making it a wonderful one. And I really thank Vignesh once again for the insights.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
for
And
giving me the opportunity.
here we have come to an end, and I would say good night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yes.